Good afternoon, everyone. And today's Ask Philip for September 29, 2023 is going to be a bit brief because today is a busy day. We are launching the kickoff for the Shredtober challenge, the Shredtober 14-day fat loss or fat annihilation challenge. We're doing the kickoff at 12 noon and the actual challenge starts on Monday. So if you are still interested in joining that, even if you missed the kickoff today, you can still join. Go into this link, register. It'll look like a Zoom call that you're registering for. That's now in the past, but that will send me an email, and then I will add you to the list so you get the automated information for the challenge. And then I will also know to send you the challenge guide and the checklist, which is going to be in our group chat. So everyone who registers for the Zoom call, even if it's a little bit later today and you missed the actual live call, you'll get an email that tells you how to join our group chat. Then that has all the links. That'll have the replay, that'll have the guide, the checklist, all the good stuff for you to follow along, because it technically doesn't start until Monday. So you could still be eligible to get credit for participating. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, whether you are doing it yourself like I am, or you just want to follow along and learn. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to get 2 weeks of what amounts to free coaching from me, asking questions, understanding these protocols, understanding a lot of the principles behind both training and fat loss, even if you're not doing this specific protocol. So it's going to be a great opportunity for folks if you are interested in doing that. All right. So the other announcement I have is I recorded live earlier in the week an upcoming episode of the podcast called The Perfect Meal Plan. And it was inspired by, actually, Nicole asked the question, do I do meal plans? And I get this question from a lot of folks, but I wanted to sort of lay down my thinking and give you some very practical strategies and step-by-step regarding meal plans. And I don't want to give away too much of it. It's called The Perfect Meal Plan, but you'll see what it's all about if you watch the episode. It's actually coming out in a couple Tuesdays from now. So it's very early release for you guys in the ladies and gentlemen in the group, which I do occasionally as, kind of a gift to you for being in the group and being committed as part of this community. But if you'd rather have it on your podcast app, just make sure to follow and subscribe to Wits and Weights and you'll get it. So that's up here. I put it under the live trainings as well. And I think it's a really good episode for anyone thinking about meal planning, wanting to know what it's all about, and so on. And then I'm going to unpin the last Ask Philip because it's going to be replaced by this one. And I'm going to unpin this training because I only like to keep one recent training up at a time. And we're going to keep the announcement short today. We're going to jump right into... Let me just see if there's anything else I forgot. We're going to jump right into the Ask Philip thread. There's 2 questions today. And again, this just very high level. The purpose of this thread is every week I answer your questions live here in the community, just like I'm doing right now. And this replay becomes available forever in the group. So even if you ask the question and can't see it live, you'll be able to watch it. I don't have a specific time that I go live either. So it's not like I'm expecting you to watch this live. But what this is for is for you to ask a specific question for you personally, for your goals, for your physique enhancement, achieving that physique, getting lean, lifting, fat loss, all those things, nutrition, and so on, so that I can get you an answer and get you unstuck so you're moving forward. Of course, if you ever need more help than that, you can reach me by DM. I do free calls all the time as well, where we can hop on and get very specific with you. Not a sales pitch, just a call to go over your strategy, what it might look like. And I do that all the time. So always reach out. Don't stay stuck. Always ask for help. Okay. First question is from Nicola Jane. Nicola says, I want to consistently lift 3 times a week. Okay. Right there. If that's your goal, I'm going to make my answer based on that as your priority. And that is the goal of most people in this group. Because we are focused on body composition, strength, muscle mass, health, all of that stuff. And so lifting consistently has to be your priority. If your priority is not, say, endurance training or competing in some obstacle course race or something like that, that's a different adaptation different specific training than lifting. Okay. So if that is your goal, my rest of my answer is going to be contextual based on that. So you want to do that. But with other training and teaching commitments, I'm finding it difficult to fit them in. So training and teaching. So teaching is something that it's part of your job, something you got to do. You can't necessarily help that. I get it. Other training commitments, I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to challenge that. Okay. So let's continue. I'm finding it difficult to fit them in. I understand that ideally there should be 48 hours recovery post lifting and weight should come first, followed by cardio. Okay. So let's address these. Is that right? The 48-hour rule that's kind of an arbitrary thing. It depends on your training age and the amount of volume you have each week and the amount of recovery you have, let's be honest. So if you are only lifting and you're a beginner, you can probably hit most movements, which are going to be big compound lifts that hit multiple muscle groups and a lot of muscle mass every 48 hours. Absolutely. If you are a more intermediate advanced trainee, you may need half a week or a full week between hitting similar muscle groups, for example. And again, it depends on how much volume you have and so on. So the idea of having at least 1 day recovery between hitting the same muscle group is a pretty good principle in general, no matter what program you're following. So I get it. And then your idea of weight should come first, followed by cardio. Yes, if you're prioritizing lifting, I would lift and then give at least 2 hours or more. That's what at least means. Give at least 2 hours before you do any of your cardio, unless it's just some very easy walking or biking or something like that, where you can tack it on to your lifting session, for example, if it's a time efficient thing. But like anything, any intense cardio, or I see later on you run a 5K, should be on a completely different day or many, many hours separated from your lifting. Okay, I could do Monday, Thursday, Saturday, but Thursday I do an hour step aerobics in the morning. Saturday I do a 5K meter run in the morning. So my question is, how much of this is teaching versus you're just training? You said the 5 yoga classes I teach are slow, gentle. I teach Pilates. Step class is full on, and I need to do the 5-kilometer run in Pilates training to maintain mobility and cardio fitness for work. So is the step class, are you teaching the step class? Because if you're not teaching the step class, both the step class and definitely the 5-kilometer run are where I would challenge you as to whether you really need that much running or more intense movement. I mean, stepping I'm cool with, but the running especially, if you really need that for your conditioning, because I would argue you don't necessarily. If you're lifting really hard 3 days a week, that's going to give you a ton of work capacity and conditioning right there. And then if you walk a lot and all your Pilates, I think you get plenty of conditioning. I mean, have you tracked it yourself, Nicola? Have you tracked your resting heart rate, your work capacity, and so on? My suspicion is with all this other stuff, you're probably super fit and have plenty of conditioning. And the 5-kilometer run is just adding stress and counteracting some of the benefits of your lifting. Now, it's all about balance and quantity. So you're doing a lot. And that's why I think there is room to remove some of that if it's possible. If somebody else came to me and said, oh, I'm doing a 5K run every week and I'm not doing any of the cardio, I might say, that's fine. That's what, like 30, 40 minutes at a moderate pace for most people. Or if you're really trying to go all out, maybe 20 something minutes if you're, fit. That's not crazy. That's reasonable. I'm not a dogmatic type when it comes to the interference effect, but I'm kind of going into a lot of detail here, Nicola. So let's get back to your question. Would it work to do weights in the afternoon, evening on Thursdays and Saturdays? I do Pilates on Wednesday morning, which is mostly core with some upper and lower body resistance on the reformer. And I'm assuming you can't change that, right? This is teaching. So, because again, I would say just get rid of anything that's resistance work other than your lifting if you can. But if not, count it as a small part of your lifting work, I guess. And, have it be separated by at least 2 hours after lifting or on your other days, and manage recovery that way. Training on Tuesday would only allow 24 hours recovery before the Pilates session. Yeah, Pilates isn't that stressful, at least my understanding of it. So, oh man, long story short, can you reduce some of the cardio? Can you reduce the 5K? Can you reduce the running and replace it with just walking, more steps throughout the week? Can you eliminate the step class and just, again, walk? Are you feeling recovery issues? Right? Because if it's just a matter of scheduling, I think you could go any number of these ways. But if it is a matter of you're not consistent because you feel wiped out, that's where I would reduce the recovery. So based on all of that, Nicola, I want you to come up with a simple plan. Like, for your 7-day plan, what are you going to do each day? Run it by the group. Post it in the group. Don't just post it on the Ask Philip next time. I want you to post it in the group because there's a lot of folks that can chime in. And then if you don't get an answer from that, we can do another Ask Philip specifically on that. Okay. So hopefully that was somewhat helpful. Elizabeth, and I think you go by Liz, but Elizabeth Hills. Hi, Philip. I teach outdoor boot camps using light dumbbells, bands, and loops. I'm trying to use progressive overload with my participants, but it's challenging. Any ideas? So now, the Ask Philip thread is really more for you individually to get some answers for your specific individual progress. But still, I wanted to answer this question. I think it's a good one in general. All right, you may not know all of my opinions on ways to work out to make progress, but I did a training called How to Get Started Lifting Weights the Right Way. I think that's what it's called. If you go to guides and you go to live trainings, here you go. How to Get Started Lifting Weights the Right Way. I would watch that just to get my overall thoughts on the principles of strength training, because once you have those, I think they're going to apply to your question, and you're already asking the question the right way. I would say, you said, I'm trying to use progressive overload, but it's challenging. So for me, the principle of progressive overload requires a few basic things. One is a way to get sufficient intensity, which is like resistance load, right? So that you can get a stimulus that is greater than the stimulus you got last time. The second is a way to increase that stimulus incrementally in a reasonable fashion. And ideally it's linear at first, but it could taper off as you get stronger and stronger. And then third, to actually implement that over time with being consistent. So that's kind of, people can talk about volume. You could talk about frequency, time under tension, variation, range of motion, all that stuff, rather than say, hey, I would love for your participants to use barbells, because I don't think that's going to happen in this case. These are boot camps. This is what they do. Somehow with the dumbbells or the bands, I would want to have a consistent programming schedule for the week that then gets repeated week after week with some variation, but mostly similar main movements that give you that stress. So for example, with dumbbells, it could be for squat, a goblet squat, right? And you start with whatever weight you want, and you're squatting on, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we throw those squats in. And every time you come in, you want to go up by 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds. And see, the problem with dumbbells is they tend to increment by 5 pounds, and you as the instructor have to have availability of like many, many, many dumbbells to give you that incremental ability, or use microplates. There are cool little microplates that can clamp onto the handle of dumbbells, or there's like magnets that can go onto iron dumbbells where you can go up by you can do like a pound on each side and go up by 2 pounds. So 2, 2, 2, or 2.5s or whatever. In fact, I have some by, who are they from? Microgains with a Z, and they're 1.25 pound microplates. So it adds up to 2.5 pounds. So I could take a dumbbell, increase it by 2.5 pounds before I go to the next dumbbell. So you would have to do like, okay, 3 sets of 10 goblet squats, and then come in Wednesday, 3 sets of 10 goblet squats, but 2.5 pounds heavier. Then Friday, 2.5 pounds heavier. The challenge with this is going to be, number one, are your students coming to every session so that they can do that? Number two, are they tracking, right? Do you have a tracking mechanism? Is it in an app or something where they can do that? Because if they skip a workout, all of a sudden you've thrown that off, and maybe they're not getting, they're having too much time and they detrain between sessions, right? And then the last thing is they're going to potentially get too strong to continue with dumbbells, bands, and loops. And that's where you would move to barbells. So I get what you're trying to do. I think it's really cool for fitness, for fun, for cardio endurance, maybe even muscular endurance. But that is the way you're going to get progressive overload, is incremental, continual improvement where you're tracking the load and able to go up over time. And maybe this is an opportunity to talk to your students about how they progress through that. And then when they get to their limit, what's next to challenge them? I don't know if that's a possibility, or if that's like, if you do that and then they're not clients anymore. I don't want to get into all of that, right? Because I get it with personal training, with gyms and such. So I hope that answers your question. Really, the principles of progressive overload are what I just talked about. There are many ways to slice that about doing it, right? With bands, dumbbells, and loops. You can definitely look up some training programs. Like I know with the TRX suspension system, Mind Pump has a good program for that. That would show you some form of progression. Bands actually probably give you more flexibility, pun intended, than dumbbells in certain ways. But then the counter to that is it's hard to objectively use a very exact same movement and range of motion, movement pattern and range of motion when you're using bands. It gets a little bit trickier sometimes with that. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, Elizabeth. As always with this, I want you to respond to the video below if it helped, if it didn't help, if you have a follow-up question. If it makes sense, I'll answer it in the next Ask Philip. Otherwise, we have a ton of great members in the group who will chime in with very specific answers. We've got personal trainers, we've got lifters, and so on who can help you out. And that's the point in this community. I don't want it to be just about me. And I think this forum is awesome for getting an individual response for you. But these kind of more general questions, I think you'll get a lot of feedback putting it in the group. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm going to stop that. And again, it's not too late to join the challenge. I don't know why I said stop that. I don't know what I'm stopping, but it's not too late to join the Shredtober challenge. Click on this link and then go to the link here to register for the Zoom call. Even if you missed it, it's okay. It'll put you on the list and then you can get access to the group and we'll go from there. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. It's fall, time for maybe some revisiting your goals and your plans and training, nutrition, all of that. Reach out anytime and have an awesome weekend.